So my name is Onida Cruz, and of course, Alicia is my baby sister. And I have a very unique business. So I began my business in 2014 when there was no market for what my product was. So my product is luxury kids rentals. So currently we have tables and chairs and also modern bounce houses. So these monochromatic bounce houses, which are uber popular in the special events industry right now. So my market has been to produce or facilitate or contribute to producing over-the-top children's celebrations in my tri-state area of New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey. So my client avatar is called Bonnie. That is who my ideal client is. And of course, in the workshop that I present, I will break down this idea of my Bonnie and my client avatar, and then how to develop one for your own business if you don't already have one, or maybe you have one, but to build it out, build that client avatar out, because there's very specific things that need to be identified when you're identifying your ideal client, because that is who you're servicing. So when it comes down to Costa Rica and creating my workshop to specifically speak about effing the competition, it's this idea that you can't go into business and have 15 lenses on all that's going around you. So it has to be very focused and very, like you have to have your blinders on, so to speak. And having like a competitive analysis of what's around you is fine when you're beginning. But once you hit the ground running and you're working, your client and your client needs are the absolute most important thing that you should be focusing on. So I'll be talking about this idea of a blue ocean, and I'm going to show you this book. So anytime you're in the airport or any kind of train station or wherever there's a bookstore, you will see this book. It's called Blue Ocean Strategy. And it's something that I purchased many years ago, but never read. But almost intuitively, I do business this way. So it's this idea that there are two oceans. So you have the red ocean, which is full of competition. You have businesses that are competing for the top spot, and the water is bloody. It's cutthroat, it's competitive, and the focus is always on what the next person is doing. And in that model, businesses don't thrive. You know, you reach a cap where the water is so bloody you can't see. And then the other side of that is this idea of this blue ocean. And of course, it's a marketing strategy. So you take what you will from it and how it applies to your business. But it's this idea that there are infinite number of untapped markets, so uncharted markets in the business space. And if you take the position that this is my business and I am going to market towards my ideal client, then the competition really doesn't matter, because my focus is on the specific needs of my client. And how do you create that? Because everything is a strategy. You want to make sure that your strategic thinking and your strategic strategy is focused on customer-driven results and what that looks like. So that is how you start this, creating this blue ocean. And of course, it's tons of details around it, but that's this idea that your focus should not be on what's happening across the street. And we will sit down and we'll put together a strategy just to focus on what that looks like for your client. So identifying your ideal client, then we'll talk about what is your blue strategy. What can you do in your market for wherever you are to create this tunnel vision to make sure that your ocean is blue. Whenever we start, first of all, there are two lenses, because many of us are first generation entrepreneurs, and we're in a space where our mentality is still 9-to-5ers. And you cannot have that mentality and be solvent in a business. You know, that entrepreneurial mindset is so vastly different than pushing a card and being on a 9-to-5 mentality. It's very different. And I feel like many of us run our businesses as if it's a 9-to-5. You know, we hold fast to whatever it is we've been conditioned to do when we were working for someone else. And that limits us so much when it comes down to our finances and our businesses. Like, for instance, just off the bat, everybody needs an accountant. if you choose to hire a bookkeeper, that's something that I would also recommend. So those two people are pivotal for the success of your business when it comes down to finances, tax planning, when it comes down to knowing your cash flow, financial statements. All of those things are just important to having longevity in any type of business. And it takes time. It's a vetting process to find somebody that understands your business, understands your personality, because we all spend money differently. Like for me, I'm a spender, and to the point where I don't even be paying attention to like cash flow, nothing like that. I'm just gonna swipe. And of course, you cannot run a business that way. You have to have that cash. So one part of what I want to speak about is just my journey this year. So this is damn, it's a year. This is a year of full-time entrepreneurship. The 14th, September 14th will be a year for me. Right. And so I had to shift my thinking from, all right, I ain't got that money that's coming in every 2 weeks. This money has to last. I have overhead now. I have payroll. Everything is different. So it's those, really, I'm just talking from my lens. And of course, what the research says, because I'm a researcher, and what we know to work in a business space, in a small business space, on how to, one, save, record your profit, and pay yourself. This is a misnomer. Many people look at their bank account balance and think that's your profit, what's left. And it's not. That is such a fluid number, right? So when you're looking at your business bank account, whatever that money, whatever it is on, that's not your final profit. Like there is a calculation to figure that out. And with this idea, like Profit First, this is another book that I love. It's this idea that you have to have pockets, so to speak, like purses for different types of income, for different types of money. And that's something that you basically divvy up twice a month. Well, I do it twice a month, on the 15th and at the end of the month, so that I can see my profit. Like it's a separate account. It ain't in the same checking account. That's the operating fund. It's a separate account. And for me, I love that because I'm seeing the money grow when I wasn't before, when everything was in one pot. So it's this idea how to physically do that in a way that you can see, you see the profit, you see the growth, and you see, you have to see progress in order to feel like you're accomplished in some sense, in some situations. So when you are able to see the money separated in that way, you feel like you're doing something. A baseline for when we start. So my question is always, how comfortable are you talking about money? How comfortable are you speaking about the practices that you do that are counterproductive for growth? Because we have to start the conversation with that first, so that I can sort of gauge how willing you are to try different things. Because for most business owners, they're set in their ways on how they do things, even if it's counterproductive to their bottom line of making a profit. And so I want people to understand that by going through these steps, and everything I've already done, it's not something that I've read and it's theory. It's stuff that I've done and put in practice, and have seen the fruits of this labor, because we read marketing books all the time. We read financial books all the time, but it's putting the stuff in practice and seeing growth. So because I'm in this space, I'm going to show you my numbers. I'm going to show you each quarter how I strategically plan for my finances, and then map it to what I'm doing as far as my marketing analysis. And again, it's customer focused. So we're looking at a competitive analysis, not for the competition, but for my clients. So each quarter I make a list of things that clients have asked me throughout the summer. Like my summer is my busy season, and how I take those lists and those surveys and put it to actionable steps. I'm also going to show my email marketing. Like having an email list is king. Do you have one? How do you start one? Because that's money too. And I'll show you my marketing, like basically how I take each email campaign and how that translates to sales. Like if I do an email on this day, how much money was generated from that email. So those things are what I'm gonna open up my playbook, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I do and show you the numbers attached to it. Because we often pay for stuff all the time. I pay for courses all the time. People talking about 7-figure summers and all this other stuff, but they don't ever share the real nitty gritty on this is what it looks like, right? And that is what I will be doing, because I want people to understand that there is a method to this madness. And also, it's one thing to have social proof, but it's a whole nother thing to really be doing this and doing it in a way that people can learn from and see it in real life. So those are all things that we will be chatting about. And like because I'm a teacher, my how do you call it? I'm about to say my lessons. My workshops are very interactive, and they're very much differentiated because we talking math, right? So not everybody is comfortable with talking about math. So I present it in a way that I can reach everybody. People that didn't do good in basic algebra, and people that have master's degrees in, accounting. So it won't be a space where you'll feel intimidated by the numbers or even just the language, because I'm very much a cold switcher. So we'll put on airs about what it is, but still very much I'll reach you where you are. That's the part of that's the teacher in me.